Hi there! You made a really good decision to watch this YouTube video. Because last year I went on a trip towards North Korea and I took a lot of photos and videos there, so I decided to share some of the highlights of my trip. I will comment every here and there, so sit back and enjoy. This was our Air Koryo airplane. For some reason Europe put Air Koryo on a blacklist, but our flight was really good, so nothing to complain from here. So this Arch of Triumph is just a bit higher than the one in Paris, meaning it's the highest Arch of Triumph in the world. As for the music band, I'm not really sure if they're always there or only if there's tourists or anything. But it was a nice way of saying welcome. This is the Pyongyang Hotel, meaning it's the place where two rivers meet. This is the lobby you see, and they had two stores. The first one was a clothing store, but nobody ever worked there, so you couldn't buy anything. But they had a souvenir store as well. You could buy everything there, from postcards, posters, to books, flags, portraits, small buttons, anything. And obviously you had to pay in foreign currency because it was worth more. And they would charge you a ridiculous exchange rate to make sure they would earn enough money out of you.
En een barretje.
Of course, our hotel had a revolving restaurant on top of it. Except for the fact that the restaurant didn't actually revolve, and secondly, you couldn't see anything, not only because the windows were so bad, but also because outside was simply pitch black. Anyway, the evening took a nice turn when the Koreans started singing karaoke, so enjoy. Yep. Well, karaoke is everywhere in Asia, but North Korea is apparently no exception. The next morning we went to the mausoleum. You probably know this picture because the great leader, General Comrade Kim Jong-il, has just tragically been passed away. Okay, anyway. So Kim Il-sung, his father, and Kim Jong-il himself are now being displayed here. And there were so many soldiers going there to the body of Kim Il-sung. They said it was open to everybody, but I only saw soldiers going there. So bowling is just bowling, not so much different between Europe and North Korea. But still, it was a way to see some of the locals. Obviously upper class is okay. Okay, so this is some footage I took from the bus while we were heading towards Mount Myohyang. Mount Myohyang is a mountain area about 90 minutes drive north of Pyongyang. However, one bridge was on repair, so therefore we had to take a D route, and as a result our trip took more than 3 hours, so more than twice as long as it would have normally taken. The D route gave us an opportunity to see some more normal cities of North Korea, less upper class and less reconstructed and repaired and maintained in comparison to Pyongyang, the capital. One of the things I still wonder is, right here, is this some sort of watchtower? I'm not sure what it is or what its function is. It looks like a watchtower to me, but I really don't have a clue actually. Okay, so here you see a department store. You can tell it's a department store by the Korean writing on top of the entrance. And if you look closely, you will see some goods being displayed on the ground floor. At the moment, I'm reading through this book written by Barbara Demick. It's called Nothing to Envy. And she writes that certain stores in North Korea sometimes display food which is totally made out of plastic. So the only purpose of these stores or these displays is to impress foreigners. I'd be really interested if this is one of those impression advertisement stores or if it's just a normal department store. Okay, so we almost missed this part where you see that these people are still using an ox in a wagon. An ox in a wagon sounds really medieval. Some decades ago, North Korea was rather thriving, and they were actually using machinery at the time. However, history took a different turn and the communist bloc fell apart. And ever since all these changes, North Korea has got this tremendous shortage of fuel and of machinery and of stuff to repair the machinery. So it's kind of sad, but these people have to use an ox in the wagon again. Okay, so I'm not really sure what this is. I think it could be a black market. I know there are black markets in North Korea, but I'm not sure. Okay, so I'm really sorry you can't see so much right now. The problem was that they didn't allow me to make movies from within the bus. So if it would be crowded on the streets or if there would be soldiers watching the bus, I decided to snug my camera out of sight because I didn't want to get caught, obviously. You hear the bus driver honking quite a lot. The problem wasn't so much traffic, but the problem was more that there were so many people on the streets, either walking or using their bicycle. I saw one cyclist being literally pushed off the road. He fell into the little water right next to the road. From what I heard from other people, they saw 3 in total being pushed off the road. The bus driver really was going crazy on this piece of tar. I'm not really sure why he behaved like that. Maybe he didn't like us seeing the town from so up close. Or maybe he just had some time to catch up. Okay, so we arrived in our hotel in Mount Pyongyang. And the first thing you will notice is this big painting on the wall. You can see 2 persons sitting there. To the left was Kim Il-sung and to the right was the current leader at the time, Kim Jong-il. It's funny because Kim Il-sung is dead now for almost 20 years. And technically he's still the leader of the country. So what I'm doing now is I'm taking a short walk to my hotel room. The hotel was called the Chungcheon Hotel. And it was an okay hotel. Especially, of course, in comparison with how the normal people lived. But there was this much more upper class, pyramid style hotel not so far from here. The entire hotel gave you this not scary but bit eerie feeling. You could see that at a certain stage in history, this must have been a popular place where people would have bought their beer, talk about their day, have fun, make jokes. It's just hard to realize how the life has been sucked out of it at the moment. Electricity is not too common in North Korea, so big parts of the hotel were not illuminated, and some were, but not too much.
As we go.
내일 저녁에 만나자.
So our hotel door couldn't lock. Still they insisted we took the key. We did have a television. You could only receive one channel, and at the moment they were showing weightlifting. The actual quality was better, but my camera somehow screwed it over. And of course we had a shower. You could take a shower, but only between 8:30 and 9:30 p.m. At other times there could be water, but your water wouldn't be warm, so... Okay, next morning, this was the front of the hotel. If you look down the street, you would see, of course, an empty street again. Streets were often empty. And in the morning we went to the Friendship Exhibition, which is some sort of museum. And on display they've got all the gifts they received from other leaders and from other countries and parties. And it gave some sort of James Bond feeling, with guards and silver shining machine guns and everything.
Een muziekje.
Of course, only soldiers visiting it, no normal citizens. In North Korea trips like this, it's sometimes hard to get a good picture of the political situation of the country. However, in the Friendship Exhibition we got some sort of insight. Since one of the gifts was a sword from Gaddafi, we started to talk about him being killed in the Arab Spring Revolution. And one of our guides didn't know apparently, so he went to another guide and he told him like, "Hey dude, did you know Gaddafi has been killed?" And the other guide who he told him responded like, No, that's not true. They've got no idea what they're talking about whatsoever. Because of course, a dictator that's being killed by its own people is like the worst possible news you could ever get in a country like North Korea. So here we're driving through Pyongyang, which is the showcase capital of North Korea. In general it looks quite nice. However, you see these unfinished buildings every now and then. But the buildings look quite well maintained. So we're heading for an elementary school, which has this soccer field in front of it. And this is the picture I made there. So this school had been opened by the eternal leader Kim Il-sung himself, hugging the kids and everything. And in general, Kim Il-sung propaganda mostly depicted him as the fatherly figure of the country. car ownership is generally not allowed, so that's one of the reasons why the streets are most of the time almost empty. Central Square, Pyongyang. Here's where most of the funeral ceremony of Kim Jong-il was being held. This underground market is right in the middle of the same central square. I guess it's legal because of the location, but it looks a bit secret nonetheless. This subway system is the deepest in the world. It's over 100 meters deep, and it doubles as a nuclear shelter in case of emergency. Many things are still being done manually. And here you see these 3 big metal gates. So if there's a nuclear emergency, they close it and it's totally sealed. Juche is the communist-inspired ideal invented by Kim Il-sung, and this tower is meant to somehow honor that ideology. The next day we would go to Kaesong. Kaesong is the border city right next to the famous DMZ crossing, so luckily we had the weather forecast so we could see it would be 8 degrees Celsius.
The black line is the military demarcation line. The military demarcation line covers 246 kilometers area from east end to the west end.
This writing means something like one single Korea, because of course none of the 2 Koreas like being split up. So both of them would like to reunify again, whenever that is. This is us driving towards the actual DMZ border, and to the left you see these big concrete blocks. So in case hell breaks out, they can cut the rope and they can remove some small block beneath the concrete, and these concrete blocks will fall on the road, obstructing any tanks or other military vehicles from getting in. The 4-kilometer wide DMZ is mostly used for nothing really. Both the sides use it a bit for agricultural purposes, but other than that, it's not so much. In these houses, the armistice was signed in 1953. So this is the most famous part of the DMZ probably. The building on the other side is South Korean building. And there's a whole lot of cameras on top of it. And downstairs you see a couple of barracks. The blue ones are South Korean and the grey ones are North Korean. And from both sides you can actually enter one of those blue barracks. Okay, so before I went on this trip, I've been living in South Korea for half a year. And we also took the DMZ tour from South Korea. And going here from the other side was so much cooler. You could really feel the tension on the South DMZ trip because they gave you this pre-departure briefing, like saying how careful you had to be and don't wave at the North Korean soldiers and don't make gestures, and if you get shot or if you get killed, it's your own fault and we're not liable for anything. However, when I came here from the north, the entire sense of threat and tension was gone. And I hate to say it, but it was almost boring coming here from the north in comparison to coming here from the south. Okay, so this is Pyongyang railway station. You see another portrait of the eternal leader Kim Il-sung on top of it. There were loads and loads of people. And this is the place where we would catch our train to leave North Korea again. Okay, so much for the highlights of my North Korea DPRK trip. Here's the last photos and videos I took from the train on our way back to China. I hope I gave you some insight into my trip. And of course I'm not a North Korea specialist or anything, so if you've got any remarks, please just drop them in the comments.